We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Good evening,
What's
Dr.
up,
Jared Johnson. How are you? I feel like we just did this almost like 24 hours ago.
Yeah, it's getting to be repetitive.
Well, yeah, repetitive and
Fans are
ridiculous.
tired of it. Like, these jackasses again? What the hell is going on?
Yeah, just an insane 24 hours. I mean, good to see everybody here in the comments. Unfortunately, I wish it was under different circumstances. I wish we were doing more fun segments. I wish we were talking about Michigan football signing class. I wish we were talking about transfer portal targets. I wish we were talking about the normal course of business for a football program that's attempting to go out and have a phenomenal season and potentially contend for a national championship. But instead,
what are we talking about then? I thought that's what this whole topic was, an agenda that had those things listed on it.
Instead, as has become all too common with this football program, we are now going to spend the next hour talking about a whole host of bullshit. Self-inflicted bullshit issues with a football program that can't seem to get out of its own way. And so I don't know how tonight is going to go. I said this before we went live to you, Jared, that I just want to speak freely and share my thoughts on some things, whether that be the University of Michigan, the Michigan football program, the way that the media has handled this. I think that there are a lot. Yeah, of course, Ward Manuel is a part of that. Listen, I've got my phone down here and we're going to be tracking if the official comes out from the University of Michigan while we're live here. But I think we are at a point now with this football program where even if you are the most maize and blue type, rose-colored glasses fan out there, I think it's time and it's fair to start having some real difficult conversations about the current state of the football program and what's going on with Michigan athletics. And we're going to try to unpack some of that tonight. Jared, when you and I went live yesterday at what? Around 5 o'clock, was it?
5:30.
Yeah, 5:30. The only thing we knew at that point, Jared, was that Chiron Moore had been fired from the University of Michigan for an inappropriate relationship with somebody on staff. And I think just hearing that, we sat here in a state of shock. We went on live. We were trying to digest it all. And it felt like that alone was enough. And when we cut the live feed, all hell broke loose. Apparently that had been happening during the day, things we didn't even know about, but it didn't start to get to reported until after we dropped the live. And Jared, after we dropped our live feed, news broke that Chiron Moore was in custody, got picked up by the police. Pittsfield Township Police Department. Then it comes to find out that he's in the Washtenaw County jail facility where he still resides today, by the way. And
resides.
I guess it's a new home for a little while. And the stories and the rumors and the things that were coming out last night were absolutely horrific. And to hear them being confirmed today, I think it took what was already a pretty shocking story and it moved this thing into a completely different world of concerned about, his family. And think what you want about Chiron Moore, concerned about him, his mental health, concerned about the individual who, whose home he reportedly broke into, while threatening her, threatening himself. Just an insane situation. Again, a lot to unpack. Jared, you tell me how you want to do this, because right now I've got in front of me, and I don't know how many people have followed it. I would imagine if you're like a Michigan super fan, you probably followed it. I've got the timeline of events from yesterday that I can go through. How do you want to go through this? Is there anything you want to say before we get into it?
No, yeah, I think we should probably go through the timeline because I see some comments, people asking like why you got arrested. Some people still aren't fully up on it. So I don't hate that. But I also just want to tell you, like, when you just talk about it just right there, think like if I wrote a movie script and this was what happened and I gave it to somebody, they'd be like, bro, this is the dumbest damn idea. This would never happen. Like, how would somebody do all that in 24 hours? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then we're just here. So when you say we got off the live last night, and then he got arrested, I'm like, that can't be real. And then the next thing, he had a night. Like, it can't be real.
Yeah, I had to check. I'm like, are these even real? Like, that's the other thing. If you're trying to follow this along and keep track with what's going on, and there's all kinds of fake news sources out. There's a mugshot of Chiron Moore out on social media floating around, which is not real. It's AI, but people are sharing it as if it's real. So like, there are fake insiders who are saying things. Savion Hyder, Michigan's 5-star running back, is one of them, saying that Hyder is asked to be released from his paperwork, which is not true, because Hyder went to social media and said, hey, this is a lie. There's a lot of it is a difficult thing to try to sift through all of this. And unless you're like immersed in it 24/7, I could see how people would think. Like, I can see it right now. There's a story in here about, the Plan B thing and how somebody DoorDashed Plan B to Chiron Moore's house or something like that. Like, I don't know of anything. Like, I've seen that. I don't think that is a real part of this story. So here's what we're going to do tonight. And I think we got to tread carefully. I mean, we are not, this is not ABC News or anything like that, but this is a platform that has over 100,000 followers and reaches millions of people every single week. And so I want to just make sure that we're careful, but I want to make sure that we're accurate for the people that are following along. And I'm not going to say anything that's like rumor unless like a verified source has confirmed it. And that's kind of how we're going to go through tonight.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
What happened. And then the other part of this is we're going to go into it and talk about what we think needs to happen next. So first, Jared, let me just go through the timeline of yesterday real quick for anybody that hasn't been glued to their phone, glued to the TV, doesn't know the exact details. So yesterday, Wednesday, late afternoon, Chiron Moore was informed of his dismissal by athletic director Ward Manuel. And there's some reporting that came out about that today. And we'll get into that in the show. And we'll talk about how that should have been handled, could have been handled. But in any event, in the late afternoon, Chiron Moore was informed of his dismissal at 4:10. So at 4:10, Pittsfield Police Department responded to investigate an alleged assault. So that was at 4:10. At 4:20, the University of Michigan football team held a team meeting. This was with the coaches, part of Chiron Moore's staff with the team. Obviously, Chiron Moore was not a part of that meeting because at that point he was out there kind of losing it. Kind of is not real. I mean, he was out there losing it. So at 4:20, they have a team meeting. At 4:45, that's when the official announcement came from the University of Michigan that Chiron Moore had been fired. At 7:17 p.m., the city of Saline announces that Chiron Moore has been detained in an official statement. And then by 8:30 p.m., Chiron Moore had been booked in a Washtenaw County jail and is currently in custody as of today. He's expected to be, arraigned tomorrow morning is the latest reporting that I've heard. And I think that's probably when we're going to learn of what the actual charges are that he's facing. Just the fact that I said that to you just now, holy shit. Like, this thing completely spiraled out of control. And I can't help, Jared, but sit here today, even with all the stuff that we've been hearing, and wonder, how the hell did we get here? How did everything unravel so quickly? I mean, Jared, when I go down that timeline, a team meeting without Chiron Moore, Pittsfield Township responds to, an alleged assault. He's in custody. Now he's in Washtenaw County jail. Just, I don't know, man. What's going through your head? What's going through your mind?
It's like we talked about earlier, and I think you posted something about it too. I mean, the guy just you took his whole life away, right or wrong, right? What he did was wrong. He messed up. He knew he screwed up, but you took such a drastic change in somebody's life, and there was remarks that he had mental, issues a bit before, but to just, I feel like they just let him hang out there, man. Just let him leave and by himself and not offer. I don't know. Maybe they did offer resources like, hey, we understand this is going to be a very difficult time for you as well as the victim. We got to respect both. But I don't know, man. That's dude had that's a hell of a lot. Imagine being him too. Imagine being this, like you said, this girl. She's blown up on social media everywhere. Like everybody's changed in a 48-hour period drastically. For those two especially.
There's no question. And I think yesterday at one point I found myself feeling a bit of sadness and empathy toward Chiron Moore. And again, I think that's because of my limited interactions with him, but just kind of my experience in being around him. And it's so hard to see that other side of it. But Jared, the more that has come out about this and sort of what was going on and how long it was going on for, and the fact that this staff member reportedly isn't the only individual that Chiron Moore made contact with or was attempting to do these things with. Again, these are reports that are floating out there, but some of this reporting is coming from the actual females who received the direct messages saying like, yes, he also had reached out to me. So again, do what you want with that. But where I'm at today, whereas last night I was feeling like sympathetic and empathetic, today I'm pissed off. And I'm irritated and I'm annoyed. I feel for his family and I feel for anybody who's innocent, who's caught up in this. And like I said yesterday, this goes to show that when you are a leader and you're in a leadership position and you choose to do these types of things with it, the amount of people that you're going to impact and affect by your actions go far beyond just the immediate people in your circle. Like here we're sitting tonight, we don't know anybody in that building that's going to keep their job as far as the people that are on staff. And now you've got, according to John U. Bacon, who's about as solid of a Michigan insider as you're going to get, reporting earlier today that there's a law firm out of Washington, D.C. that's now conducting an investigation into the entire Michigan athletic department. It sure sounds like I will be shocked if Ward Manuel makes it out of this thing. And I know that there's some debate within the fan base as to how much blame Ward Manuel should hold in all of this. And I want to talk a little bit about that. But Jared, I think maybe here's where a good place to start would be. And it's that, and I said this earlier today, and I got some pushback on this a little bit. And I wonder if you're in the same boat as me, if you feel the same way, or maybe you feel a little bit differently, but here's where I'm at with this thing. As a fan, and as somebody who has been able to cover the team for the last 5 years, and when I say cover the team, I mean the most. I am a credentialed member of the media, but most of what I do is photography, right? I take video, I shoot pictures. Like I am not a journalist. I'm a creative guy. That's what I love to do, and I'm glad that I've been able to do that. So when I look at this program, as a fan, as somebody who has covered it, I am at a place right now where I am just tired of the bullshit. That's where I'm at. And I don't see any way when you go back to Matt Weiss, the sign stealing / advanced scouting, however the hell you want to phrase it, to, Connor Stallions, to now we're doing the Chiron Moore thing, NCAA investigations and suspensions and all of this crap, Jared. I'm tired of talking about shit that doesn't relate to football. There's all these other things that continue to pop up around this program. And I'm at a point right now where even though I know that there's innocent folks in the building, Jared, I think it's time to clean house. I think it's time to get every damn body out of that program. And if it costs you a year, hell, if it costs you 2 years, so be it. But they have got to fix that football program at the University of Michigan. And I don't know how you do it unless you take everybody out of the building and you start fresh. Am I too aggressive there? What are your thoughts on that?
Who are you talking? I mean, you're like, just let players fly out the door. Don't try to save that. Don't try to hire a big name coach to come in and rescue it all. Like you're saying, it's just got to go. Yeah, who's got to go? Let
me specify. This isn't so much player related, right? Actually, take the players out of this because there's a certain way that I feel about that. Leadership at the University of Michigan, and this is including the time that Jim Harbaugh was there, leadership at the University of Michigan has failed these players repeatedly, to where guys who busted their ass and won a national championship also had to listen about how their title was tainted. Now you've got guys who committed to this program, who were paid a lot of money to come here, who invested a lot into this program, that are now sitting here tonight having to read about their head coach being in jail. They have no idea what's coming next. Leadership in this program has failed these players. And so when I say it's got to be gutted and you got to pull everybody out, I'm not necessarily talking about the players, but I'm talking about if you are on staff, if you are in a leadership position, if you're one of these clingers hanging on to the program and you just sort of be around, but you don't have any official capacity, get the hell out of the building, pull them all out and just start fresh. That's where I'm at. I think you got to get everybody out.
Yeah. And so Tony Alford.
Sorry.
Dude, I mean,
sorry, but don't be angry with me. Don't be angry with me. Don't be angry with me. Take it up.
You gotta see a deeper investigation, man. There's gonna be, that like we said earlier, there's that law firm that's gonna be looking into how this whole thing was investigated. And they're gonna figure out who knew what and how, and you know what I mean. So I don't think you can just slice everything
let's
right?
talk
Like,
about that though.
you cut thin. You don't have to.
Let's talk about that. What the who knew what when sort of thing.
Yeah.
This is one of the biggest problems I have with this entire situation here. And I can see it right now, and I'm getting pushback on this. People think Tony Alford needs to stay, and I'm not saying Tony Alford is a problem.
Well, we don't know. We don't know.
Right, we don't know. But here's what I am saying for sure: is do you expect me to believe that for months, Jared, and I'm talking like 10 months plus, these dipshits on the internet, a lot of them who use phony names, were out there very openly talking about this incident going on. Like, and it came out today that even people in the media going all the way back to October, like, yeah, we knew something was going on. We knew something is going on.
Grain of salt with half of them.
Sure, that's fine. But everybody seemed to know that something was going on. So am I to believe that the people in that building, the people who are closest to it, the people who spent the most time around Chiron Moore, who saw these two interacting in that building, am I supposed to believe that these people had no idea this shit was going on? Explain that to me. Try to sell that to me, Jared. How are you on this staff working that closely with Chiron Moore and you have no idea that something like this is going on?
And that's the part we don't know, right? I don't know the inner workings of how that place was, right? I've been in Michigan practices and behind the scenes in that facility when Harbaugh was there. And I'll tell you, like, you know what I mean? It was a little bit different. I haven't been there when Chiron Moore was in charge, but maybe we don't know how much time he was even spending doing his damn job. If he had all this other stuff going on that he was trying to cover up or whatever, make work for himself. I don't know. I just think that you got to have an investigation. I'm just like you said, I don't want to talk about somebody who could be, like Tony Alford could have nothing to do with this. So I don't want to bring his name up. He's an innocent person right now, as far as it's all concerned. His name, 100%. I haven't seen his name in anything, because then you got like Sean McGee's up there, the GM. Where was the GM at? Like,
sure,
you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of.
Where was Fifth Poggi? Where was Ron Bellamy? Where was Chris Bryant? Where were all of these guys? But at some point, like, I just feel like common sense also has to play a part in this. And I can just say, as like somebody who was down on the field, on the sideline, sometimes I would go to like the weekly press conferences where Chiron Moore would come out. You rarely saw Chiron Moore without this staffer like close by and on his hip. And I doubt that was just like a public setting thing. I think that probably carried over into a lot of different aspects and phases of what he was doing throughout his day. And so given the nature of what was going on, how deep it got, how off the rails it got, Jared, I just have a hard time believing that folks in that building didn't think like, hey man, there's something going on. Even if they didn't know the nitty gritty details, like there's something going on here that ain't right. There's something going on here that just feels a little bit off. I mean, we've seen photos now of Chiron Moore and this girl walking down the sidewalk in Ann Arbor. Like, again, like just a lot of time together and a lot of close proximity. How it didn't raise red flags with people in a position. And I think this is where I'm at, is like when you're around it that much and you become desensitized to it and you just start to like accept it as like, oh, it's just one of those things.
Yeah.
Even if you're innocent and even if like you don't really know what to do, you still get caught up in it, right? Because you still get to a point where you excuse those things. And that's why I feel like it's got to be a clean flush. That's why I feel like the only way to really get all of this shit out of the program, unfortunately, even for the people who are completely innocent, is to just start completely over. And I get that people are going to be upset at me about pushing for that and wanting that. But at the end of the day, your anger shouldn't be directed at me or anybody else who feels that way. Your anger should be directed at the person who is directly responsible for the shitstorm we find ourselves in now. And that's Chiron Moore.
Yeah. So people are saying that the 80's been fired. Is this true or what?
I'm refreshing. I don't have an email from the University of Michigan yet. I know that there are, and this is the problem with social media, man. There are a lot of accounts who've already reported that Ward Manuel has been fired, but then you go to their profile and they've got like 200 followers, 300 followers, like some dude in a suit with a fake name with an AI profile picture. These are not real people. And so a lot of people have asked me and sent me messages. The answer is like, no, I don't have anything confirmed that Ward Manuel has been fired. I know that there are discussions that are taking place, obviously, which you would expect on a day like today. But as far as I know, Ward Manuel is still serving in his capacity as athletic director. And so until something comes out officially from the University of Michigan, I would just hold off on pushing, retweeting, or sharing anything like that.
For sure. I don't know. Yep, strange times that we are in here.
But I mean, but again, like I said, I just think, and I'm not going to use a specific coach as an example, but somebody brought up like, so you think so and so coach should go, Jared? I'm just curious, like when I say that to you about like people who are around it, people who see it, people who kind of know that maybe something isn't right, and then you become desensitized to it, then you just sort of learn to accept it as like part of the deal. And I don't know what's going on, but I don't want to know. That to me speaks to like just a culture of a problem where things just kind of happen. And I feel like when this has been going on for long enough within a program, the best thing to do, not necessarily for the individuals who might be innocent in this, but the best thing to do for the program long term is let's just get a whole new host of guys in here, a whole new group of guys, start fresh and get that shit out of the building. Yeah, it's going to cost, there's going to be some collateral damage with some innocent people, Jared, but I think that's the only way that you can guarantee or give yourself the best shot to like truly move forward and get through it.
Wow. That would be, I mean, yeah, that could be where they need to go. But man, can you just imagine it? And God, 3, 4 or 5 days ago, we were talking about how good the team's going to be next year in the program, and Moore had done some right things. And I mean, man, he pulled the wool over everybody's eyes on this one, I guess, you know, or like you said, people knew and didn't, you know, but we didn't know as fans, you know. I mean, like Sam Webb made a comment that, you know, when I discussed that, you know, this was ridiculous and salacious and all that. And he's allegedly like a huge insider. So either he isn't and some knucklehead was, or he, you know, I don't know. What does he know? I don't know. I'm going to bring everybody in this thing, but God dang.
Well, that's an issue that we're going to discuss on this show. The way that it's been handled by the media overall, I think is something that certainly needs to be talked about, because I think Michigan fans are frustrated for sure. If you follow certain people and you take them at their word and they are your main news source, when those people
swing and a miss on this one, guys.
Sure. When those people come out and say, absolutely, this is false, nothing happened here, I can assure you this is just blah, 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 blah. And then a week later, like Chiron Moore's fired, he's locked up and all hell's breaking loose. It's like, okay, I'm not really sure. Can I take what you say to the bank? Because that, to your point, Jared, that's a pretty big swing and a miss. I do want to address this one from, I think it's Derek Lafayette from the YouTube page. He says, but if Tony is innocent, don't call for his job, period. I want to make it clear that I didn't log on here and start this live and start calling for Tony Alford to be fired. That's not
what the people heard.
That's not at all what happened here. What I'm saying is, it's got to be a wholesale change. That's what I think it is. I'm not calling for like individual people to be fired. I'm not
saying everybody should get fired.
I'm not singling anybody out in this. I am saying, and I am looking at this from the perspective of wanting what's best for the University of Michigan. And I have come to a point, at least in my fandom, and as somebody who has been able to cover the program in an official capacity for a little while, I'm at a point with this stuff where I want a wholesale change. And unfortunately, that means that people who are innocent are going to get caught up in that. But again, if you're angry at me for feeling that way, your anger is misplaced. I didn't put the Michigan football program in this position. I didn't hire Matt Weiss. I didn't bring in Connor Stallions into the program because he happened to sleep in his car and was willing to drive back and forth and do all this. Like, I didn't do that. And I didn't slide into some girl's DMs while I was head coach of the University of Michigan trying to get booty calls. Like, I didn't do that stuff. So if you're mad about innocent people potentially losing their jobs, then that's cool. Be mad about it. But make sure your anger is placed in the right place. And it's certainly not with me, because I think there's a lot of fans out there that are fed up and just want to not have to deal with this shit. Like we said in the beginning of the show, Jared, this is when you should be like working the phones and hitting the transfer portal hard and making sure you're doing whatever you can to develop your program and get it right. And what are we doing here, Jared, in mid-December? We're talking about Michigan's head coach being locked up in Washtenaw County Jail. What are we doing? So don't tell me that. Don't tell me that I'm crazy for wanting a wholesale change.
You are fired up, my friend. I'm not going to call you crazy, but you're fired up here.
I'm over it.
Get it out of your system.
It's so stupid, Jared. It's so stupid. And it's all self-inflicted. Nobody did it to you. You did it to yourself, just like every other damn time. You do it to yourself. Can't get out of your own way. And you've got...
So is this all Harbaugh's fault? This is Harbaugh's fault. Chiron Moore's the guy. I know him. I vouch for him. I put my career. He's going to be the next part of my coaching tree. He's the guy. Jim Harbaugh still striking.
Somebody says I'm kind of wound up. Who is it? Ralph says kind of wound up. Have a man mosa. Yeah, maybe I should. Maybe I should have poured a man mosa before I got onto the live. But
the ghost of Jim Harbaugh lives in Michigan. I mean, telling you, he's still here messing with us.
So, I mean,
it's his manual's fault because he should have just paid the guy, right?
All right, well, let's just talk about it right now. I mean, you bring up the Jim Harbaugh thing. I have heard that mentioned today. Like, how much blame do you place there? How much blame do you put on Ward Manuel? Jared, I don't know. Do you just leave it at Chiron Moore's doorstep? Let me ask you this. What is the issue? Because we now know that Michigan has a problem, right? There are some reoccurring issues that happen within the football program, and it's happened in other athletics as well. But I'm just talking about the football program tonight. Yeah. There are repeated issues, big issues. I mean, we're talking about when the FBI gets involved and you're facing lawsuits from other things. Like, I don't feel like I'm overreacting. I feel like some people are just like, they're so used to it. They're just like, man, it's just another thing, or somebody's trying to get us, or somebody's out to get whatever. Okay. I don't see this shit happening at a lot of other programs, but you tell me, Jared, what is the biggest issue? Is it the way Jim Harbaugh left? Is it Ward Manuel? Is it some other part of the university or program that I'm not thinking about? Like, what is this all about?
I still think it's the protection of the aura of Michigan, right? Like, that these issues come up, and these people that are in these leadership positions within this program and the athletic department and shit, maybe even Ono as the president at some time, because he was a disaster. Like, they think that, oh, this is Michigan, so we can't let this get out. 2, we can probably squash it, or it'll go away, or and they don't want to tarnish that image, and so then they do dumb stuff. And the hiring of some guys like Matt Weiss, I don't know, man. Like, how could Michigan have known that? Didn't he do it in Baltimore with the Ravens and they didn't know? So
it's not like he just got hired at the University of Michigan and became a pervert.
Yeah, but they're saying he's been doing it the whole time, so nobody knew. So maybe this dude just fooled everybody. Like, and again, these stories are so wild that you're like, that can't be real, and it is, and that's why maybe they're not catching some of it, because it's so damn wild that you don't even expect. Like, should I check to see if this guy's accessing the websites to look at what are we doing? And then, like I said, we were around Chiron a few times. A gregarious, fun-loving dude. Like, this seemed, you know what I mean? Like, he's on documentaries and stuff just right now, and apparently he had this other thing going on. I don't know.
A lot of other things going on.
Yeah, but I think that's part of it. I think it's just that Michigan image. We are Michigan. Like, you got to stop with that shit. Nobody cares anymore. You know what I mean? Like, you're just a football program. There's a million of them out there. You got to, get over that shit.
Yeah. And again, I know that some people, will say, hey, you're worked up, and this isn't necessarily directed toward you, but like, you're worked up, or you're too angry about it, or whatever. I just want to, like, John U. Bacon earlier today on local television news confirmed that Chiron Moore went to this assistant's apartment, whatever it was, with a knife, threatening to kill himself or hurt himself, and threatening to hurt her. So if you think I'm overreacting to that, like, it doesn't get much more crazy than that. Chiron Moore right now is in Washtenaw County Jail. This thing went off the rails real quick and went about as bad as it could possibly go. So for the people out there that are saying, this is a blessing, Chiron Moore wasn't working out anyway, like, this is in no way, shape, or form a blessing. You can think that Chiron Moore wasn't working out and wasn't the guy. This is about the worst this is the worst possible way it could have gone down for him to be removed from his position as head coach at the University of Michigan. It could not get much worse than this. Well, Thankfully, it didn't. We don't know how close
it could have gotten worse. We talked about that. It could be a totally different story, which would be very much national if he had.
And how close were we? That's the scary part about
a lot worse, man. This would be a hell of a topic to cover.
That's the scariest part about this whole thing, man, is we don't know how close we were to this being a really bad story already becoming just so much more horrific. But the fact that we were there and we were that close to that, and we are where we're at now, yeah, I don't know that anybody's going to overreact to this. And I certainly don't think looking at this and looking at some of the other situations, a 2-year NCAA investigation, multiple suspensions, show causes, some of the guys that you would want to come back probably can't even come back because they can't coach in college football. You got one guy who's like all wrapped up with an FBI investigation, and you've got student athletes who are probably going to sue the University of Michigan because this guy got his hands on, their personal photos. When you go down the line, Jared, I don't think it's an unreasonable ask to say, look, can we just clear it out? I mean, I know that we love football here. Hell, dude, I devote like so much of my time to the football program.
Yeah,
I am invested into this, right? But at the end of the day, it's still football. It's still college football. It's still a game. And the shit that we're talking about is so much bigger and more important than that if you got to clear out that whole program to fix it, then I'm all for it. I think that's what you do. Yeah. Is there a chance that they don't do that and things end up okay? Sure. But I just don't have a lot of faith. I don't have a lot of confidence in that. And at the very least, you can't fault me for that. I don't have any confidence.
Who would they be? The regents? Like you're saying the regents just clean house? Because, I mean, you don't have a president. You have an interim, I guess. And the AD, we're saying we should fire the AD. Obviously, the interim guy, like we can't keep him either. Right? So who's just the regents are in charge? And then I guess you hire a new coach. They fill all their positions. We have 4 or 5 guys left on our team to,
Okay, well, let's talk about because yesterday, let's talk about that.
It can get real dark, bro.
I got on my soapbox yesterday and was talking about how the University of Michigan head coaching job was such, just this coveted thing. Like anybody in the country, like, oh, you bring in Urban Meyer and you bring in Nick Saban or anybody in the country, like even a Dan Lanning who's super happy out at Oregon, like you got to give him a call because, right, you might not think he will, but like this is the University of Michigan. Jared, let me ask you this. Given how things went with the ending of Jim Harbaugh, the chaos of getting Chiron Moore in there, Chiron Moore trying to build everything with an NCAA investigation, Michigan kind of hasn't lived up to expectations the last 2 years. Now here you have Chiron Moore getting arrested, going to jail. Like there's all kinds of shit breaking loose. I get that it's the University of Michigan, but if you're a head coach, if you're an elite head coach out there, if you're a Kyle Dillingham over in Arizona State, if you are, if you're Kalen DeBoer down in Alabama, do you even want to come up to Ann Arbor right now? Is this a place where you look at that and say, yeah, I think that's stable enough. I think I can make that work there. Or are you looking at everything that has happened over the last 2.5 years and really starting to wonder, like, I don't know, man, is that a program I really want to dip my toe into, move my family up there and hope I can make it work?
I think if the AD goes, right, because then you say like that's a program that has a lot of instability, right? But I can come in with my team and we can build it how we want because the AD is gone. I'll clean house with whoever I think needs to go on this as far as assistant coaches. I could do this thing myself. And I look back and I see a program that in the last 2 years has 3 top 10 recruits, right? Underwood, Meadows, Hyder in 2 years. Like you can work with that, right? They show that they can recruit. They got NIL dollars. They got support. They got
the best backfield in the country, arguably.
Yeah, Michigan loves nothing more than fucking coming back from the ashes. They've done it before. It's a Midwest mentality. Kalen DeBoer's from the Midwest. Like, I think, and he's got comes from Alabama and say, I left Alabama to come here. How much you can sell a kid that? You know what I mean? Like, I left Bama to come to Michigan. This is why you should come to Michigan because I know what it could be.
I understand that, and I get that, but
I don't think it's. Yeah, I don't know. I'm with you. Are you asking me if you think it's as big of a deal as a job?
Yes, and let me throw this caveat in there too.
Oh, here we go.
If you are an elite head coach considering coming to the University of Michigan, Jared, how much of a concern is it that, given all that's happened, we talk about the Matt Weiss thing, the FBI being involved, suspensions and NCAA investigations, and now you have this Chiron Moore thing, and we're not really sure what the full extent of, we're still on the front end of this. We don't really know what's going to come from this and what it's going to look like. Jared, if you're looking at the potential of coming to this university to be the head football coach, how concerned are you that there is something coming down the road that you can't even foresee for this program? That whether it's another investigation, whether you get slapped with something, there's been some shit going on up there and we're not exactly sure what's coming. is that not part of your thinking process in terms of taking the job, that you might not even know what's coming a month or 2 or 3 or 6 down the road?
Well, that would that would have to involve the NCAA, I suppose, right? And
I don't know, Jared. It could.
Well, I think
I don't know.
I think the NCAA has already come out and said like they're not going to try to. They don't want to punish teams when the coach left. He was one that got in trouble, or you know what I mean. They don't want to get too crazy about that.
But does the NCAA? I'm talking about like Title IX issues.
Title IX, right? Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, even with Chiron Moore out, and it might not be related to this thing. Hell, Jared, it could be related to something we haven't even heard yet. Because with this,
you just put it in your contract. You just put it in your contract as that coach, right?
If there's any bullshit, I'm out.
Yeah, I get out, and then here's my buyout too. Put a fat buyout on there. Like if you lie to me that you don't know anything else is coming, and something does go wrong, then I'm taking $25 million and I'm walking out or whatever.
I know, but you're going to leave Alabama for the possibility that you might find yourself 3 months from now in a situation where you got to bail out of your contract and just say, nope, there's too much shit going on up here. And look,
I don't think that Kalen DeBoer loves Alabama. I'm going to tell you, I want to say that unpopular opinion. The dude does not look like he's having a great time on the sideline in Alabama, even when he wins. Because, dude, that loss to Florida State, 5-7, right? Bro, they were calling for his whole family to leave the country. Like, that doesn't seem like a very fun place to be. And I get Michigan's high stress too, but I mean, good Lord.
Yeah, I think that's something you got to think about. Like we talk about how, the Michigan job is like, if it goes open, there's not many jobs around the country where you're going to want to pick those over the University of Michigan. And I just think if I'm a head coach, if I'm Kyle Dillingham out at Arizona State, if I'm DeBoer down in Alabama, even though things could get hot, if I'm looking at Michigan, I'm thinking like, dude, I don't know what tomorrow will bring. I don't know what next week will bring. I don't know what next month will bring, because it seems like something's always popping off up in Ann Arbor. And it's not just tiny little things that are happening. Like, these are big things that are popping up where the football program is in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. If I'm a head coach, do I want to give up what I've built and what I've created in order to go up there and, and work with that historic program and risk a situation where 6 months from now, I might find myself in a real difficult spot for something that I didn't even have anything to do with? I think that's got to be part of the line of thinking if you're one of those coaches considering taking the job. I certainly don't think you're going to pull anybody out of retirement for it. So it's,
no.
I think given what's happening, the more I've put time and thought into this, I think let me say this. I don't think the coaching pool, like the candidates, I don't think it's as deep today as I thought it was yesterday. I think you are working with a bit of a different group of people, just given the current state of the program. And when I've put more thought into it, yeah, man, if you're enjoying retirement and you've got your legacy and things are pretty buttoned up for you, I don't know that the University of Michigan's worth coming out of retirement for. And even if you're Kalen DeBoer with Alabama and things could get hot, I don't necessarily know that you want to leave that for what could be waiting for you at the University of Michigan. So that's
you're not wrong on that. You're not wrong on that at all. It's a high risk, high reward job right now, sure. Right? Like you could come in and just kick ass and be a Michigan man, right? And be a legend at Michigan, and you get to be part of the biggest rivalry in sports. And every year you're in the limelight, and you have resources and you have all these things that you can use at your disposal. But then there's like the piano hanging over your head and you don't know if it's going to fall, that's, yeah. But man, you give me enough money, you might be able to pull some stuff off. I mean, they offered Harbaugh $11.5 million a year. You know what I mean? Yeah. Marcus Freeman, not going to leave Notre Dame, is making 7.4. We talked about, right? Like, if you roll up to Marcus Freeman and say, "Hey, would you come to Michigan? We'll give you 11.5." You're talking a $4.1 million raise. That's a 40-some% raise for the guy. I don't think it's ever going to happen, but I think Michigan has that power and that ability to make people consider some shit. You know what I mean? For sure. And I mean, yeah, Jim Harbaugh, offered a lot of money. Jim Harbaugh also can probably never coach college football again after the University of Michigan. And but whatever, he won a natty. He's good. He's all good.
He's good. He's fine.
Good. He's fine. Nothing wrong with him.
But that just goes to show, like, that these things, like, all of these things are intertwined and linked. Like, if what happens with Harbaugh doesn't happen, if the Stallions thing doesn't happen, then Chiron's probably not in that spot. And like, it just, one bad decision and a handful of bad decisions, when you keep making them, like, the shitstorm just doesn't go away. And how many holdovers from the Harbaugh era are still in the building and on staff? And that's what I'm saying. Like,
Chiron would have been fired as an assistant coach instead of a head coach, because clearly.
Well, yeah, we wouldn't be where we are today, presumably.
we'd be talking about an assistant coach getting fired. We moved on with our lives. But
we would have moved on, right? And I don't think it would have gotten to where it is today. BK65. See, look, I've been thinking about this a little bit. People are like, why do you always pick the Facebook people? The Facebook people, you know what it is because Facebook people use their actual names for the most part. So like I can read Scott Ruiz or I can read, Jenna and Jackie Hayes, and I can read these names, but we'll go with BK6555 from the YouTube page. He says,
I know that guy. I went to high school with him.
He's a great guy. Because there's journalism and access journalism. I get if you're a small timer and you're strictly focused on basic team sport coverage, fine. But hearing how all of them sort of knew, I don't support that. Jared?
Well, I think he just called us small timers that are strictly focused on basic team sport coverage.
And he's not wrong.
BK6555, man.
He or she is not wrong. That's about his. That's an accurate description here.
Also accurate, correct.
Yeah, I'm a photo guy. I'm a content guy. I've got I've had incredible access to the program and being able to generate the content. But I am not a journalist. I am not.
I don't even know why I'm on here.
Right, exactly. And I don't either. But I'm not in the scrum asking the difficult questions. But I'll say this, in line with the statement that he made here. There are a lot of people who are in those scrums. There are a lot of people who are asking those difficult questions. And the thing I think that bothers me so much, and we see this all the time with insider stuff, anytime something pops off after the fact, there's always a group of people that want to run to social media and say, yep, I knew about that. Remember how I kind of mentioned something a week ago? Remember how I kind of said something a month ago? Well, this is the thing that I was talking about. It's like, okay, cool. Who gives a shit? So you knew it a while ago and you didn't say anything. And when this whole Chiron Moore thing came out, it was once again the same process. There were a group of people who couldn't wait to come out and say, well, we kind of knew that this was going on. It's like if you are an actual journalist in this media market and you kind of know that something is going on, isn't it kind of your job to get to the bottom of it and report it? And I think that's a big issue with, I feel it, right? Like there's times where we hop on here. There's times where I was going to write articles. There's times where I had things that I wanted to say, Jared. And I've talked to you about this a number of times. Like even going into next year, I'm just going to be fully transparent here. Next year, I don't know that I'm going to have a media credential. Like I've had one as an independent, Winged Helmet Media. I have been credentialed as that before. Most of my credential work came as part of the SI network. But I'm going to attempt to once again be a credentialed member of the media next year. I don't know that that's going to happen, but I can tell you that something that happens when you are credentialed is that you don't want to do anything to lose that. You don't want to do anything to risk that. You want to make sure that you're playing nice with the people in that building. And I just think that there are a lot of people who cover the program who went to the University of Michigan, who think very highly of the program. And I just think that the fact that nobody outside of some shithead online who's like a professional troll at this point was the best journalist we had to getting us to the bottom of this thing. I just find that
the cover up goes more broad than we suspect.
The blue wall's real. It's real.
And this is going to be,
And those are things that I think, those are things that if you're a Michigan fan, we're talking about hard truths here tonight. Things that are difficult to accept. Yep. The blue wall is real. And you know that because a lot of people came out after all this shit came out and said, I knew. Yeah, I knew about that. Yeah, I heard about that. And nobody said a damn thing. Nobody reported anything because they wanted to wait until it was safe and Michigan put out an official statement. And when that's the case within the media pool, I just think, and then you have other guys putting out statements saying not only is that not true, but it's unequivocally not true. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. And then a week later, guess what? It did happen. And then some.
Of course, yeah.
If you're a fan and you are consuming media content, surrounding the University of Michigan, and you are paying monthly fees for certain services, I just think you got to be.
Yeah.
I would imagine you're pretty damn disappointed with the way that all of this has been covered or not covered over the last handful of months, because apparently, Jared, a lot of people out there knew about it and didn't say shit.
And listen up too. So when me and Chris make jokes about ourselves, that doesn't mean you fans get to continue the jokes. These people are a little rude.
What are we doing? We're getting jokes about us in here?
Yeah, they're always just making fun of us.
Well, that's fine. I mean,
I love it though. Yeah. I love these fans. At least they're keeping it light. Like this is a tense situation. We got some people that are still keeping it light, and I mean, it's you can't And then that's right. CJ's right. Exactly what you said. They're afraid to piss the school off. Like
it's 100%.
You said we've been there. Yeah.
True. This is 100% the truth.
Blackball you from that whole. You'll be erased. You know what I mean? And that's what you get.
Yeah, I can just say as somebody who's been doing this for a little while, CJ, you're 100% correct. There are people that like conversations are had offline, and you can't go and report things that aren't substantiated. I understand that because you can't report on rumor. But again, if you're a journalist, if you are part of the beat, like it's kind of your job, if you know something going on, to go investigate it and get to the bottom of it and get the answers, not to just sit on it and wait for somebody else to come out with it and then say, yep, I knew about that too. Jared, when you and I talked about this yesterday and I said we had kind of heard something about it, it wasn't because I had any firsthand knowledge or any, somebody from right. It was, you saw it floating around online. So of course I'm not going to come on here and say, well, I've heard this sort of floating around online. Like I didn't have any sort of insight.
But remember when you and I were talking about it, remember what we said though? When it kept building a little bit and we were like, wait a minute, because you made a point earlier. You said, these guys say, oh, remember, I kind of said something about that 2 months ago, because they say some super vague shit that means nothing. Right. But these guys were locking stuff in like, hey, it's a certain type of female. She looks like this. It happened during this time frame. Right. So at that point, you and I were like, wait a minute, there might be a little bit of smoke to this, because they were backing themselves into such a tight corner that nothing could be wrong. But if you come at something vague, you can say, oh, that's not what I meant. I was off a little bit. Damn, they had receipts almost. It was getting so specific that I was like, man, this is like a story now. Like they're rumors that are that specific are you know what I mean? You got to, it's a little bit different.
Right. And
man, but you also got to think that, the age of people involved. How old was this girl? Early 20s, mid 20s? I think she was in her early 20s. You know what I mean? So like that group, something get out from her. Like who knows how they got that? You know what I mean? Maybe one of the assistant coaches did go to some weird ass media people because they had to get around the blue wall. What if that's the investigation? Tony went around the wall and found some crazy MSU guy and had him.
I'll say this. There are rumors that the person who was leaking all of this was getting it from a Michigan region. That's a rumor. And so I'm not, again, like, who knows if any of this shit is true? I'm not reporting that. I'm saying that that's a rumor that's floating out, but that just goes to show like, you don't know what's true and what's not. But Jared, to your point, this individual, who I am not a fan of, like in any way, shape or form. In fact, I hate this guy. I've never met him, but the way that he goes about things online, it drives me insane. But he was dead nuts on this one, to where he was getting very specific about very specific things. Yep. And when that started to happen, you and I were talking about it and we're like, well, it's not just sort of like kind of maybe I know something. It was like going down the line of very specific things. And that's when I think a couple of weeks ago, there started to be at least a little more concern on my part. Chris from the Facebook page, I'm sorry, I'm going to slaughter your last name. Jared, you want to give an attempt on that last name? I'm not exactly sure how to say it. Chris Sueves? Sueves? Okay, we'll go Chris Sueves. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. He says, how did it go from the victim was pregnant to he's been stalking? Yeah, I don't know. Again, that's the problem with this internet stuff. Like, I haven't seen anything officially confirmed about either one of those. I will say this, that today, recording from the dispatch recording came out and surfaced. And, you can hear the dispatch person saying something about the fact that to the effect of, she had complained that she had been stalked for a few months. And so if true, that goes back to my original point that, they're reportedly from NBC Sports. Somebody had said something about Chiron Moore's mental health way before Wednesday, before he was fired. You have a dispatch call that apparently from this girl who says he's been stalking me for months. And so if you were in that building and you were around these things, Jared, we're not the brightest guys in the room, but when you're around shit that ain't right, you just kind of, things are off, things are like, something's going on. The vibe is off, right? Like you kind of just know. So I just don't know how people could have been, and you know how much time these coaches spend together, close proximity. Like there's, that's like your second family. And in a lot of cases, like when you're at this level, it's your first family. You're spending more time with these people than you are your actual family. I just find it very hard to believe that there weren't other people in that building who knew shit was going on, that Chiron Moore confided in, that maybe this staffer confided in. And, I just think it's another situation, just kind of like with the Stallions thing, where a lot of people like threw their hands up and were like, I'm not really sure what to do. And then lo and behold, you go that direction for a little while, the top blows off and everything goes to shit. And here we are once again doing that with this football program. So it's just round and round we go, man. This has been a wild 2.5 years. If you think about all the things that have come out, a wild, like Weiss is within that time frame. Stallions is within that time frame. And now Chiron Moore is within that time frame. That's a lot for a program, for one single program to go through. One of those instances would have been a lot, but three of them, that's cool.
Taking the cake.
All right, let's see if we can go through. Jesse is asking, where are you guys going?
Oh,
Jesse Jesse Hermanson asking, where the heck are you guys hearing all these rumors? I don't know if he's specifically referring to you and I, Jared, but
rumors,
I'm not. Listen, sifting through what's real and what's rumor is a really difficult thing to do, and that's why I don't want to talk much about rumor, but it's giving you an idea of things that are floating out there. And also, like, I never hop on this show and I never even put stuff on social media that, like, I don't think there's at least something to, like, some legs to it, like I feel like the reason why I've been able to build that platform pretty good over the last, 8+ years that I've been doing it is that I don't really peddle in bullshit. Like, I don't really speculate. I don't really do that stuff. Like, if I put something out, you can take it to the bank, and I take a lot of pride in that. And so, I don't know that we're talking about a lot of rumors here. The dispatch call kind of is what it is. John U. Bacon reported the disturbing details of what we heard emerging last night, with the knife and threatening himself and threatening this girl. And so, yeah, most of what we're talking about here, if not all,
inappropriate relationship in general was quantified by Michigan, right? Michigan released that first statement that said it was an inappropriate relationship. Like you said that last night, right? Some people are upset saying that they went too far. Maybe they shouldn't have said that it was an inappropriate relationship. Maybe they should have just said, hey, he's been fired for violation of university policies. And maybe there is truth. I don't know. Do you have to put all that in there that it was, you know what I mean?
Yeah. David, what's that?
Do you think they have to put all that in there when they do that press release that it was because of an inappropriate relationship with a staffer? Or do they have to say, hey, he's been released because he violated university policy?
Yeah, you 100% have to put that in there. You 100% have to put that in there, because when you think about, it came out of left field, apparently, outside of all the other people who knew that this was coming and didn't say shit about it. But for most of us, yesterday was like a kick in the dick. It was a massive shock. Like, holy shit, Chiron Moore is fired. I think if you just put out a statement that says he's fired and you don't give any details, it's just for violating policy. I don't think you can leave a fan base wondering. And I mean, if he doesn't put out that detail, they're going to wonder. The fact that he put out the amount of detail that he did still left people thinking, okay, well, what does that mean? So I think it's like a lose-lose situation. I'm not trying to give Ward Manuel any credit, but when you have to put out a statement like that, I don't know. How much detail do you give? How much is enough? How much is too little?
And here's another part to it too. And I'm sorry, I know you got this question up, but what about they came out that they had been asked about their relationship, Chiron and this female, which we won't say her name at all, but the female, right? And they both denied it. So now you think that's got to come out, like the whole staff knows. So now the staff that thought, maybe it's a weird vibe in here, those two seem inappropriate. What, I don't know. They both just denied it. So now do you think that these staff's even like, okay, shit, I was way off. I would have swore they were doing something inappropriate, but even the female said no. So now do they get any leeway from that?
Well, I'm really curious what that internal investigation looked like, because if Chiron Moore is saying no and the other individual is saying no, I'm talking to everybody in the building, and either everybody lied.
But when you talk to everybody, Chris, and say you're Tony Alford, and I come to you and I'm the big bad investigator, and I say don't bullshit me, I already know the answer. What do you think about this relationship? And you, as Tony Alford, say I think it felt inappropriate. I think maybe something's going on. But then the investigator gets the two people in the investigation to say no, nothing's going on. It doesn't matter unless there's evidence. You know what I mean? When the two people that are on a hearsay investigation say no, based on hearsay, and then everybody else says, well, I thought it was, but man, I don't know.
And if you move too fast, maybe you put yourself at risk for a wrongful termination. I mean, look at what happened with Pat Fitzgerald in Northwestern, right? He got I don't know what the official payout was, but
didn't Partridge just get exonerated from all that shit?
He did. I'm not sure if he got a payday from it, but I know he got exonerated from it. Wrongful termination type.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, it's look, there is, especially when people are lying and not being honest about what's happening, there is no real easy way to go through it. And I just think that that's what makes this so damn complicated, so difficult, and even more of a reason why I think you just got to clean it out, because some people were lying, some people weren't. How do you know who was and who wasn't? It's clear as day today that something was going on. Something big was going on. Something bad was going on. Something bad enough to where Chiron Moore was willing to potentially harm himself and somebody else. Like it got to that level. And so the fact that the people in that building collectively couldn't do anything to bring an end to it other than the way that it played out, to me, is what Chiron Moore did takes the cake. But the fact that the collective group of people around him, the safety guards in place, the staff, the people around him, the people who were closest to it, the fact that none of those people could do anything to stop and prevent what happened yesterday is almost, to me, just as big of a tragedy, and really speaks to a complete systemic institutional failure. And that's why I think it, for better or worse, yes, innocent people are going to get caught up in it, but you see it all the time with coaching changes. Sometimes you just want to bring in your own guys, and that means the old guys are out, right? This, to me, I think is a little bit different. And given how bad it got and apparently how long it was going on, reported stalking for 3 months or whatever it was, I think you got to make a wholesale change, and you got to get people in there that had no connection to this, no connection to Arbor, and they're coming in and just doing football. They're not having conversations about Chiron Moore. They're not having conversations about any of the other bullshit. They're coming in with a fresh slate, and they just want to play football and win football games. And I think everybody would be very excited to see this football program return to a place where it's just about football and not about the outside bullshit. David Huey from the Facebook page, hope I said that last name right. He says, he's agreeing with somebody in the comments. He says, our program still stands tall even after the whole Stallions crap. One affair does not mean clean house. Since he was coached by default after 2023, good riddance. People would up and leave just to coach at Michigan. People need to relax. Jared, I want to get your take on that. Before, I just want to say this is not just about an affair. This is about something far deeper and bigger than just an affair. If this was just an affair, I don't know that we would be spending as much time on it, but this thing went way, way off the rail. Yeah. I mean, Jared, if what Chiron Moore is being accused of is accurate and true, we're talking potentially like spending a little bit of time behind bars, right?
A significant amount of time. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about a breaking and entering, which is a felony. You're talking about assault with a deadly weapon, which is a felony. And I think it's a 10 to 14. We were talking about, I think it's like a 10 to 14 year, 15 year felony in Michigan, stalking, kidnapping by keeping her in there against her will. Like so many things, so many different things.
Right. Allegedly, potentially. Right.
Yeah. I said,
we don't know.
Potentially. Yeah. And
overall point is, this is not just an affair. Like this thing went
it
far.
Was right. It was. And then Chiron Moore took it somewhere else. Like you know what I mean? If I think we'd still be talking about it if Chiron Moore had just gotten exposed in an affair and been fired from Michigan, and that had just shut up, released a press release saying, hey, I'm trying to focus on me and my family right now. I made an egregious mistake, blah, 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 whatever his lawyer drafted up in Chat GPT and you know what I mean? It would still be a story, but it wouldn't be this. Like now, this is going to drag on forever. Like, and I'm not saying, whatever, I'm not mad at the victim or any of that. Like nonsense, this stuff happened. He did this. But this program is going to be under that cloud, like you said. I mean, how fast does the justice system move when you're talking about a former U of M head football coach and some egregious offenses? They're going to be very thorough so they don't screw this up. You know what I mean? Could you imagine being the prosecutor for that? You're in Ann Arbor trying to prosecute the former head coach of the University of Michigan.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can, do people relax? Like, I think overall, like, here's the thing. When we click off the live and I go back into my regular life, like I'm going to hang with my wife, I'm going to hang with my kids. We're probably going to watch Christmas movies. It's not like I'm spending all day in my house pacing back and forth and like freaking out about what's going on with the football program, right? Like I can compartmentalize my life. I can put this stuff aside and go and live. But when we're here and we're talking about it on a live show and with people, like, yeah, I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel and I'm going to try not to filter it. I feel like the best way to do this is just to be open and honest and authentic and tell you how I feel. And I don't think this is a situation where you just tell people to relax. I think this is a situation where it's a good idea, if you're a fan, to be pissed off and demand more from your football program that pounds its chest about integrity and morals and ethics and all of this stuff, yet continuously, repeatedly, year after year, particularly as of late, fails to live up to their own standard that they preach. So, yeah, I mean, is this a time to relax, or is this a time to be vocal and say, no, we expect better out of this Michigan football program. We expect better for the guys in the building who committed to come play football here. Like, let's not forget about that. We talk about victims that are involved. Like, these players routinely, I mean, players had to go without Jim Harbaugh. Chiron Moore serving suspensions. Now Chiron Moore's out. He's in jail. These players, like, my goodness, can they get a break as well? Can they just get a guy who can come into the building and focus on football and not some sort of side piece relationship that they're trying to work through in the building? Jared, we were joking about that a little bit before we went live, but is it really all that big of a surprise that things look disastrous or discombobulated at certain points throughout the season? Like, when you think about what Chiron was carrying on his plate mentally, you know, his focus, I can tell you this, his focus was not 100% on the football program. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, I mean, the allegations that I'm seeing, I think that they said that they were talked about this summer, right? Between the two of them, and they both said no this summer. So this whole season, he's been carrying the fact that he knows that they lied. He knows that there's evidence. Like, he knows that this girl at any point could just say, hey, here's the facts. Actually, you know, I lied. Here's what really happened. And then did he continue to stalk her? That's crazy too. Like, he was so infatuated or whatever that this girl can ruin your whole life. You know this. She lied for you and said, hey, this ain't happening. And instead of just walking away and, you know, being like, holy shit, I dodged a bullet there, he says, I'm going to hide in your bushes. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing?
Well,
I mean, I don't know if you hid in the bushes. That's just an analogy to, you know, stalkers usually hide in bushes. I don't know how I know that.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, talking about, you had mentioned it, how this thing's going to continue to linger, just like the NCAA investigation for the advanced scouting thing linger. I mean, that thing hung around for a long time. And when it comes to this, and like, we don't know exactly what happened and when it happened and how it happened. And you got Adam Schefter on ESPN today talking about, like, well, Chiron Moore deserves, you know, he's going to have to speak and he has to tell his side. And it's like, dude, I don't know that there's a lot of people interested in hearing from Chiron Moore at this point in time. But again, he's a Michigan guy. Right. He's a Michigan guy. He's a Michigan advocate. So you've got a lot of that going on. But the bottom line is, Jared, when you talk about this lingering, yeah, it's going to linger. You know why? Because there is a lot more that's going to come out. We only know, like, the tip of the iceberg of this story. And as the days and weeks continue and there's court proceedings and more information comes out, as it always does, like, you're going to find out exactly what happened. And every single time a new piece of information drops, guess what? It's going to be another story. It's going to be another story. And if you're a head coach out there around the country and you've got your shit together at a program, and might not be perfect, but things are kind of operating and things are working, and you got to make a decision about whether or not you want to be up there at Michigan, there's no doubt that there's an appeal to it in terms of the program itself and what's possible and what you could be capable of and the resources you'll have at your disposal. But man, oh man, does there have to be a giant question mark in your head about what is going to happen next week? What is going to happen next month? What's going to happen 3 months from now? And how much of that is going to affect me and my ability to get this program where it needs to be?
And, you know, he's hiring, you know, I mean, dude's got means and assets. He's hiring a badass lawyer to sit on his side. You know what I mean? And they're going to do everything they can to.
I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure what, I mean,
like,
there's
you or me do this stuff, bro. We're toast. You know what I mean? I'm over here with a public defender. Like, oh boy, you know, this ain't going to be good. He's going to have some serious legal counsel helping him, and that's going to drag it out too. You know what I mean? They're going to be filing motions and trying to suppress and do all this. I watch a lot of lawyer movies, but Liar, mostly. It's a good lawyer movie. Dude, Tim Carrey was great in that movie. Remember when he kicked his own ass in the bathroom? Come on, man.
All of my legal expertise comes from Liar,
dude. Because then he became a good guy.
That's how I know how courts work.
Exactly, dude.
All right, let me
approach. You can't just walk to the bench. Jeez.
Let me go through a YouTube page.
Yeah, pick them.
Talking, it's can do, will do, sucka again. Like, can we just have regular names here? So I can just read
sucka. That's what it is.
He says he or she, in quotation, says, quote, stalking me for months, end quote, could be hyperbole. Maybe they agreed to end it months ago and parted ways, but the investigation continued. Yeah, I don't know. That's the thing. We're going to find out. We're going to find out the answer to all of these questions.
Continued. How can that be hyperbole? Like,
well,
the investigation is code for he kept stalking her. I don't understand.
No, I think the hyperbole is maybe somebody thought they were being stalked. Maybe that's not an accurate description of or depiction of what was taking place. You know,
where
like
did we get that from
the dispatch call. The dispatch call said that whoever called in to Pittsfield Township Police had said that this individual had been. Well, I mean,
I'm being stalked.
One person's interpretation of what happened might not be inaccurate. You know, you got two sides to that.
It's an accusation.
What's stalking to one person might just be like, hey, I just really care, to another person, sort of thing. Like, and I'm not trying to make light of that. I'm just saying, like, there's two different sides. Like, Jared, I could think that you're stalking me, but you may not actually be stalking me. You know, you like me a lot. You call me a lot. You text me a lot. You know, but
everybody texts 150 times a day. That's normal.
It's where we're
Very
at.
Normal, Chris.
You and I text quite a bit these days.
Quite a bit. Keep it up. Stalking.
Oh, let me go through some more of these comments.
There's the Juwan Howard attachment. More than Juwan Howard. Thelma and Louise. That's a good one.
Thelma and Louise.
At 7:06. Who would you throw off the cliff? We drove Michigan out of you guys, man. See,
which one would I drop?
They both go off the cliff, I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
Guys, I'm taking some time here. I'm reading through what you said, because once again, you guys are throwing a lot of stuff in here, and I want to make sure that I appreciate the contributions for sure.
I think where we at, like, man, I don't know. I don't think DeBoer is going to be the dude anymore, man. I just don't think he is. I think it's going to be somebody like you said, man, Arizona State, that Willingham. They're going to disappoint me is why. I think they're going to disappoint me. I think they're going to hire somebody in the light of all what's going on. They're going to try to go safe and, nice and easy and not invest a bunch more money. And,
how much of this are you thinking about? Dominic Nanny from the Facebook page says, you realize Chiron Moore was 2-0 versus DeBoer and he sucked, right? Like, Chiron Moore did have, no, he wasn't 2-0. He got the win against Bama, but Jim Harbaugh was back for the national championship game. Ralph Lewis from the Facebook page, he says coming out of retirement is low risk. He's talking about Michigan's potential head coaching search. He says they'd get multi-million dollars for 2 or 3 years, and if they have to walk, they can walk and slip right back into comfort. I don't know that any of that is true. Honestly, to me, it's not low risk. I don't think it's a 2 or 3 year type thing if you're going to come out of retirement. We talked about this yesterday, that I feel like you would want a pretty fat deal. And then what I mentioned earlier in the show, that, like, let's say you are, and I'm just throwing out names here, but we're talking about guys who are retired, right? Let's say you are Nick Saban or an Urban Meyer or somebody of that,
Nick's too old.
That cloth.
Wouldn't happen anyways.
Too old, but also your legacy is intact, right?
Yeah,
your head coaching legacy is good. You're intact. The idea that you would come out of retirement and step into this fire where
John Gruden's isn't. Well, right? He got fired from the Raiders for some shit, and he's fought it. And
how long has it been since he's been a coach?
Been a while, man. But he won Super Bowls, right? He won a Super Bowl, but his legacy is not intact, as you say. He won a Super Bowl, but he also did this, and he never came back to coaching. And you think about the time that he's putting into being in media and all that, travel and all those other things he has to do. I mean, taking a job at Michigan isn't going to increase his workload. You know what I mean? He's all over the place anyway. So,
I know
legacy, and
I know Dave Portnoy.
They're heroes, dude. You know what I mean?
Dave Portnoy is pushing pretty hard.
Yeah, well, and he's got a tie-in right there, and Portnoy's got the red phone to Michigan, obviously.
That he does. Here's another person that is not a fan of Kalen DeBoer. It's Susan Rooks from the Facebook page. She says DeBoer is not it. We want someone who will clean up and win games. You got
to tell us who, though.
That's the thing, though. You got to follow it up with a name. I'm not 100% sold on DeBoer, but there seems to be like a lot of people who think that right now, given the current landscape, that would probably be this. Unless you can pull a legend out of retirement, they think that that's probably the biggest get you could get if you're Michigan. It's one of those things where, Jared, I think you just said it. Like, I'm not going to be totally enamored with it, but willing to give him a shot and see what he can do. But Is it a home run hire? I think that's one of those hires where there's some guys where you could say are a home run right off the bat because, Saban is that. I think Urban Meyer is that. I know a lot of people hate Urban Meyer, but just in terms of what he's done and who he is, coach, I think you could confidently say that's a home run hire. To me, DeBoer is like a wait and see sort of thing. Jed Fish, underwhelming wait and see sort of thing, Dillingham from Arizona State. It's like, I don't know. We'll just have to see.
Big on him. Joel Klatt just had a whole statement about Dillingham. He's big on him. And
Joe Brady. There's a lot of people, is Joe Brady enough to get you like riled up and excited?
Coming from the NFL and being a hot commodity in the NFL, I kind of think that he would be, you know what I mean? I wouldn't jump up and down, but I wouldn't be, you know what I'm saying? I'd be like, okay, this could actually be something. He's a quarterback's guy, right? We got a decent one sitting there, and he needs some help. You know what I mean? And he's young, and he could stay for a while. But what do you think about him? Is he?
I don't know.
1 to 10. Where does he move the needle? 7.
I would put him right around. I'd put him in the same category as like a Jed Fish, like maybe between Jed Fish and Kalen DeBoer, like somewhere in there. Like to me, it would be
like 7.
Yeah, wait and see. I'm not exactly sure. Like, okay, cool, but it's not anything that like is like if Michigan hired Lane Kiffin, even though we're trying to avoid grease and uncertainty, like that type of thing, like it's not anything that's going to get me excited. But maybe that's what we need. Maybe we don't need like that big flashy, splashy name. Maybe we just need a guy who like just wants to coach football.
That's what Chiron was, though, right?
Low ego.
That's who we thought Chiron was. He wasn't a big name guy. He came up in the program. He, struggled. He earned his spot. He had success at each position that he was at. I mean,
that Michigan money and that block M. And
he made the call, right? He was the offensive coordinator that made that call for Blake to leak out in that game against Bama on that 4th down, right? He said that was the most stressful call of my life. He made that call. That was a hell of a call.
Yeah,
great call. I mean, a season-saving call. That whole drive, he was in charge of that. Like,
you know what? It just dawned on me. Oh my God! This just dawned on me. This might be $1 million idea. If there was ever a book written on the biggest fumbles of all time in humanity, like fumbling the bag, like you read this book. Yeah, you read this book, and it's just a list of people who had it all and fumbled the bag. I don't know where Chiron Moore would rank on that list, but it would be pretty damn high. Pretty damn high.
I think he'd be below the guy that paid $10,000 for like 3 large pizzas like 15 years ago, or 10,000 Bitcoin. He paid 10,000 Bitcoin for like 3 large pizzas. It's worth like 1.3 billion now, and he's like, "Well, I
fumbled the bag. Fumbled the bag." Would you read a book? I would read a book. I'd want to know.
Like 3 cents a piece at the time. Yeah, I'd read that and just be like, "You moron!" Like I'm any better, in my basement on a podcast.
I can't believe
I've really made it.
Maybe we should do it. Hardcover book. We put our 2 heads together. We could
come up with some shit. We
could make that happen.
Would accidentally buy it.
We could make that happen. Did I read this one yet? Kyle Bodkins from the Facebook page says, to be fair, there is 0 chance that they were planning on firing Moore if they allow him to hire Coombs. Is that how you say his last name? I'm not really sure. Coombs, an attempt to hire Mike Shula as the quarterback's coach. Yeah, I mean, there's they're
reporting that it came at them and they fired him.
Sure. There's also belief out there that there's belief out there or a narrative that, Michigan knew that they wanted to do this. They wanted to see how Ohio State was going to play out. They wanted to know, like, is Michigan going to be in the playoff? Basically insinuating that Michigan was sitting on this and waiting for the right time to bring it all to the forefront because at some point in time, Chiron Moore was going to be the fall guy. I think that that's complete bullshit. I don't think that like anything that nefarious was going on. Although at this point, I don't put anything past anybody. But I just think that other things were at play that led this coming to a head on Wednesday and ultimately where we're at now. And I think that what Kyle is saying here leads credibility to that, Chiron Moore was still out there making hires and adding to the staff and building things up. And I don't think that you're allowing him to do that if like, hey, he lost to Ohio State, we're going to get him out of here. I don't think you're out there allowing him to make hires.
Yeah, so you're agreeing with Kyle.
100%. Yeah, I think
and I agree as well. I think so too. And I think that's why they let the recruiting class get signed and all those things. Because people are getting real crazy about that too. Like, what a dirtbag move by Michigan to let these kids sign. Dude, When we hire a coach, they're instantly in the portal for 15 days. This means nothing. Right now, all those letters of intent mean nothing. And Michigan's already let some Matt Ludwig, the tight end, they let him out of his. You know what I mean? So it makes no sense to try to bash the program by saying they did that in some kind of dirty fashion. These guys can go wherever they want whenever the new coach gets hired, or they can get out right now. So
okay, well, I've got some updates here for the 300 plus people that are watching live. I can read them here. I haven't had the chance to go through it all.
Validate them.
So this is from Yahoo Sports. Ross Dellinger. He says this was reported at 6:42, so about 30 minutes ago. He says Michigan board members and university officials held a call earlier today related to the situation with Chiron Moore. Despite reports to the contrary, Ward Manuel remains the athletic director as the school begins a search for its next coach. So for anybody out there who was hoping that Ward Manuel was going to be out of a job tonight and that news would break, based on this latest reporting here from Ross Dellinger, it sounds like Ward Manuel is going to be part of the search for Michigan's next head coach. And so I'm curious. I don't know, Jared, how do you feel about that? It sounds like Ward Manuel is going to remain in the mix.
This guy he just dodges everything, man. It's incredible. Unless there's, like I said, things behind the scenes that we didn't know about,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's just happened. At some point, you have to look at the top and say, dude, is it a coincidence or is it lack of oversight, lack of, doing due diligence? I don't know what he's, not doing over there, but I'm surprised. Are you surprised? Did you think he was?
On one hand, yes, because I just felt like with all the stuff that has gone on under his watch, again, one of those things where it's like, hey man, maybe you did, maybe you didn't, maybe you tried, maybe you didn't turn a blind eye, maybe you did. I don't know, but just too much has happened under your watch here. Yeah. We're going to go in a different direction. I thought that was incredibly likely, especially as this story spiraled out of control. And then you started to see some things trickle out from news outlets specifically targeting Ward Manuel, and that seemed to signal this thing was going to head a certain direction. But according to this report from Yahoo Sports, Ross Dellinger, Ward Manuel remains athletic director as the school begins its search for the next head football coach. And so it sure doesn't sound like Ward Manuel is going to be going anywhere. And there's a portion of the fan base that is probably celebrating that because they look at what's going on elsewhere with Michigan athletics. They point to the basketball program, what's happening with Dusty May and some of the other success, the hockey team #1 in the country. And they're like, well, Ward Manuel also went out and made those hires as well. And so there is still a group of the fan base in the Ward Manuel corner.
I think, like what you said, though, all those things together outshine those other things, right? And as the old saying is, perception is reality, right? So if the perception is that all these things are happening under your watch and they're all negative and they're pretty big and they're damning, then maybe you are part of the problem, or you just got to go anyways because perception becomes reality,
Yeah, and there's
as you say.
There's also, again, for anybody interested, a letter that came out from the interim University of Michigan president tonight regarding this. This was released about 45 minutes ago. It says, "Dear colleagues and students, earlier this week, the Department of Intercollegiate Athletics dismissed head football coach Chiron Moore with cause for violating university policy by engaging in inappropriate relationship with a staff member. When the findings of a university investigation into Coach Moore's behavior were presented on Wednesday, we immediately terminated his employment. There is absolutely no tolerance for this conduct at the University of Michigan. None. I have been in close communication with the Board of Regents, and we are united in committing to doing what is right. The breach of trust by Coach Moore is painful for many in our community, first and foremost, the individuals directly involved in this situation, yet our swift and decisive action reflects the university's staunch commitment to a campus culture of respect, integrity, and accountability. All of the facts here must be known so the university's investigation will continue. I encourage anyone with information about this matter to confidentially contact UM concerns, blah, 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 blah." So
you good, man? You need glasses?
Jeez, I mean, there's a lot
at the end there, bro. Jesus.
A lot of big words there from the University of Michigan. I'm just a small fish here. Keep it to 2 syllables, please, Max.
Good Lord, man.
Good Lord. Yeah, so I don't know, man. It doesn't sound like Ward Manuel is going anywhere. It sounds like the University of Michigan is going to continue its investigation based on, integrity and ethics and doing what's right and asking people to report anything that they knew. And so we're going to see where this thing goes. But Jared, like I said before, there's a lot more that's going to come out. This story certainly isn't going to end today. And some of the details that are going to come out in the coming days and weeks are going to be ugly and pretty hard to stomach and hear. And, unfortunately, that's just going to be the case. And all while that's happening, Michigan has to try to hire a new football coach, not a temporary guy, but you've got to go out and try to get a guy at this point. You've got to try to do work in the transfer portal because we know Michigan's roster needs it. There is so much shit that needs to happen to get this football program where it needs to be in 2026. But Jared, at the end of the day, like talking about football, talking about rosters, talking about potential head coaching replacements, it just kind of seems less important right now than making sure that you do what you need to do with the football program and you get that right and you take your time and you make sure that whatever it is you do moving forward, that you don't find yourself back in this situation 6 weeks, a month from now, 2 months, a year, like never again. Yeah. Right. You got to play this the right way and you got to keep your nose clean. If you are who you claim you are, you got the university president talking about ethics and integrity and all that shit. It's time for the
I don't even know what they could have done to avoid this, though, on Chiron Moore's part. What kind of background check do you do to find out if somebody's going to do shit like this? I'm sure that, you know what I mean? He had the highest endorsements from Arbor. He'd been in the program, and that means. You think it's just a string of bad luck?
This
is all just the universe. It's the butterfly effect, dude.
Darren from the Facebook page, or I'm sorry, from the YouTube page, Darren from the YouTube page says, WTF ever happened to fan-led Thursday, Chris? Yeah, sorry about that. I mean, we're trying to. Yeah, we don't really, the intent, I can promise you, was to come on here on Thursday and let you guys lead the show. And like I said earlier, like when we logged on, was talk about recruiting, talk about the transfer portal, talk about the outlook for next year, like all of that stuff. And, unfortunately, this stuff pops up and, that this is the second show we've done in 2 days and we're hopping on here just to sort of talk through it and share our thoughts and allow you guys to do the same. And when there's, I don't know how many comments have come through, but 4 or 5 comments come through. It's really hard to keep track of all of it, but I promise my hope is, good Lord, I hope that next week, fan-led Thursday is a normal fan-led Thursday. You guys are.
Hopefully we're talking about a big splash coaching hire, right? I mean, How long can they wait, Chris? How long do you think they can wait? We're talking another week, so it's Thursday. You're talking about next Thursday. You don't think they should have a hire by then, or do you think they should? I think honestly, you got to go quick.
I think you wait as long as you need to. I think you take as long as you need to get the guy. Like you want it to go. Ideally, you want it to go as fast as possible. But like I've said multiple times, to me, it's just so much more important that you get it right and you figure out what's going on inside of that building. And you take all of the shit that's been in there for the last 3 years and you pull it out so that there's no holdover. There's just no bullshit moving forward. I think it's imperative that happens. And so I would like it to move quick. Sure. When we hop on here Thursday or Monday or whenever it is, I think Monday you're going to be out, right? We'll have to talk about that. I'm not. Yeah. So we'll talk about next week's schedule and what that's going to look like. But Jared, my hope is when we hop back on here that, Michigan has a head football coach and everything's good to go. And, the program's rocking and rolling. I don't know, man. I think that a lot of this stuff is going to drag out. And unfortunately, I think it's going to take up a lot of oxygen in the room for a little while. Same thing that happened with the Stallions thing, man. Anybody who's followed this show for long enough knows that there was a point where I sat on this show and said, I cannot talk about it anymore. I can't talk about Stallions. I can't talk about this. I can't talk about that. And now here we are with a new disaster that's going to take.
Because you were part of that vacuum business with him and Bryce, so you had a conflict of interest. That's what it was, right?
I was part of the LLC, believe it or not. I was on the paperwork as well.
Slinging vacuums, and I didn't want business to dip, so I wasn't going to talk about it.
Jonathan from the Facebook page. Yep. Unfortunately, that's where we're at today. A lot of false reporting that's out there. It's hard to figure out, what's real and what isn't. That's why you just look at. If I could give any advice out there tonight, maybe that's where we'll end it. If you're looking for news, if you're looking for things that are confirmed and real, just come here to the Winged Helmet, because anything that goes up there, it's going to be vetted and make sure that it's accurate from an actual source before I go ahead and report it to all of you guys. But yeah, the reports earlier that Ward Manuel had been fired obviously were inaccurate. So It's unfortunate. Matt Kirby says, man, again, it's like watching The View, thieves of joy. Yeah. Sorry, I apologize for that. I'm not the thief of joy here. It's not me. I mean, blame the people running that football program for stealing our joy. We should be talking about transfer portal additions and wide receivers. Dude, I was seeing a whole bunch of wide receivers and people that were entering the portal over the last week, and I thought, man, Michigan could do this. Michigan could do that. Michigan isn't in any place to be adding to the roster right now. It's just a tragedy. It's a tragedy.
Bryce Hunter would be the head coach.
And now next year, we're going to be talking about, well, look, first year, Kalen DeBoer, look what he had to walk into. Look what he had to deal with. Look what he had to do. It's like Groundhog's Day around here with this football program.
Glitch in the matrix, man.
Lord, just give us some good football and keep the rest of the shit out of it. I appreciate everybody for stopping in here tonight as we are now at an hour and 24 minutes. Jared, I know you got pizza rolls in the oven. You got things you got to go take care of, and so do I. I appreciate all of the involvement here from everybody that put in comments. And again, my hope is that the next time we hop on here and do a fan-led Thursday, we can get to more of your questions and comments so that you can guide the show. But until then, buckle up, hold on tight, and brace yourselves for what's to come here in the coming days in the ongoing saga of following the Michigan football program. Take care.